Mr. President, over the past few months, Congress has passed 14 different resolutions that are going to save the American people money. It's going to make it a lot easier for our economy to grow. 14 times since February, we struck down unnecessary, burdensome, and costly regulations. These were called midnight regulations because they came at the end of the Obama administration. Some that came out actually after the presidential election had been completed, the outcome was known, and still the outgoing administration tried to continue with what President Obama's chief of staff at one time called audacious executive actions. Well, half of these 14 regulations, half of them, were actually put in place after the November presidential election. You think about the election last year in November. President Obama said time and time again during the campaign that his agenda was on the ballot. Well, the American people rejected that agenda, and the president dumped these new rules on the American people as a parting shot. We wiped out 14 of these regulations, wiped them off of the books. In one resolution, we rolled back an important part of President Obama's war on coal. That was the so-called stream buffer rule. It was designed to shut down a lot of the surface coal mining in this country. It would have destroyed up to a third of coal mining jobs in America. So we passed a resolution that protected coal mining jobs and protected American energy independence. There was another resolution we passed that restores the role of local land managers in deciding how best to use federal land. Before the Obama administration, the local experts were the ones who would help decide how federal land could be used in so many areas around the country. These are the people on the ground. They're the ones that know best what works there. They're the ones with the best sense of how to balance all of the different ways that land could be used. Now, that could be things like recreation, energy production, and grazing. Well, the Obama administration said it wasn't interested in hearing from the local experts anymore. It decided to put the decisions, all of those decisions, in the hands of unelected, unaccountable bureaucrats in Washington, D.C. So Congress passed a resolution that says these are decisions that affect local communities, and those communities should have the say, and a significant amount of say, in how decisions get made. When we look at these 14 resolutions altogether, they will save Americans over $4 billion and more than 4 million hours of paperwork. Because not only are the regulations expensive, they are burdensome and time-consuming. And I can tell you this is just the beginning, Mr. President. These resolutions are just one tool that we have to strike down bad regulations. There's much more that Congress can do and will do, and there is much more that the Trump administration can do. The administration has already made it clear that the bureaucrats in Washington are not in charge anymore. I plan to make sure that the Trump administration keeps up the pace and tosses some of these worst regulations and rules into the garbage where they belong. A good place to start would be for Ryan Zinke, the Secretary of the Interior, to throw out another rule that makes it more difficult to produce American energy. This regulation supposedly tries to reduce how much methane gets lost in oil and gas production. There's always some unprocessed natural gas that gets released at gas and oil wells. Energy producers try to gather up this gas and then ship it to a processing plant where, of course, it can be sold, it can be used by customers. Taxes are paid on that go to state, local governments, that go to as well as money that's raised for the sales for the companies themselves. Well, to do that, the producers need small pipelines. They need these small pipelines to collect the unprocessed gas from the wells and to get it to the processing plant. Here's the problem. We don't have enough of these gathering lines, because without the gathering lines, the only option is for that gas to get burned, and that extra natural gas will escape into the air. So what do the bureaucrats in Washington say? They could have addressed the real reason that this gas is being lost. That's the fact that the fact is they haven't allowed enough of these gathering lines on federal land. Instead, they decided to write a regulation that makes it tougher for us to produce American energy here in America. But the Obama administration has blocked the permits to build the gathering lines. So this methane rule is a terrible regulation. It's redundant. It's unnecessary. I believe it's illegal, and it needs to go. Secretary Zinke should wipe the slate clean and get rid of this outrageous rule immediately. He should also order the bureaucrats who work for him to start approving more of these gas gathering lines. That's what we really need. We need to make energy as clean as we can, as fast as we can, and do it in ways that do not raise energy costs for American families. We need to balance thoughtful regulation with a growing economy. We can have both. The Obama administration absolutely failed to strike the right balance. The Trump administration and Congress have a lot more we can do to make sure we get the balance right. Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the floor.